card, where you see like you have two little guy symbols here, two little duders. That means that there are two characters in the unit. Lord Maul has one, so he is a single character unit.
Okay.
If a rule refers to a unit, it means all of the characters in the unit. So, for example, if something affects a unit like the Super Commandos, it would affect both of them. If it affects a character, it just affects the single miniature itself. A unit is broken down into 3 different cards. There is the stat card. The stat card has all of the abilities on it. We'll talk about how those work as we dive into the gameplay. It has the stamina, which is how much damage the character can take, and then it has the durability value. This is how many wounds the character can take before it's removed from the table. You have a stance card. Every character has a unique stance card. Stance card represents the combat abilities of the characters. So this includes things like their melee attack dice, their defense dice. In addition, it also includes some unique things to Shatterpoint, including the combat tree. And we'll talk about how that works when we dive into attacks. And then it also has their expertise chart. So this kind of represents their training and their unique skills with their weapons. The last card that makes up a unit is called an order card. So every unit has an order card. When you build your strike team, which is assembled of 2 squads, you take all of your order cards, you shuffle them up, along with a Shatterpoint card, and this creates your order deck. So your order deck dictates how your activation sequence is going to go. So again, we talked about how it's kind of chaotic and you don't have perfect control over everything. In Shatterpoint, the things that you activate are going to activate in an order based on your card draws. So if we kind of dive into that, you're going to see that you do have some control over when things activate and not, but for the most part, Shatterpoint's going to challenge you to say, okay, you have this unit to activate, how are you going to make the most of their activation? Every player also has a Will of the Force pool. This pool is determined based on the force values of your primary characters. So if you flip over like Ahsoka Tano, Lord Maul, Asajj, and Anakin, you're going to see that they have this force value right here. This is set at the start of the game and it never changes. So Anakin gives you 4, Ahsoka gives you 3, therefore the Republic player has 7, and our Maul Asajj player has 6. As you spend force throughout the game, it's not going to be available to you again until you reshuffle your order deck. Once you reshuffle your order deck, your force will reset and you'll be able to utilize it again. So spending that resource really wisely is super important. A quick note about what the force represents. So the force pool is the will of the force. It is the energy field that surrounds and binds all living things in Star Wars. Think about it like the Sixth Sense. The force has an influence on events and people, and it wants to kind of nudge them in a direction that will see its will done. And you as the player are the one doing that. So when Anakin uses his force jump, or the 501st clones use their defensive maneuvers, when you're expending force to pay for those abilities, it's not them harnessing the power of the force to do it. It's the force being like, hey, maybe you should jump to here right now. Maybe you should move over to here. And putting them in a position where they're going to be able to see maximum success.
I dig that. It's not, so the force isn't like pretty much every other board game and video game that's ever existed. It's not like a resource that you spend. It's just like a, like the force.
Yeah, it's much more like the upper level of the force, not kind of the concept that we understand from Jedis and stuff where you're manipulating the force.
Right.
Cool. In order to win a game of Shatterpoint, you have to win 2 of 3 struggles. So every mission has a mission deck to it. The mission deck has multiple cards for each struggle. It also has a special rules card that tells you how to set up the objective tokens for the mission, and it might have some special rules with it. Before the start of the game, the player whose mission deck is being used draws randomly 1 card from each of the phases, 1, 2, and 3, and then they stack them accordingly in order, and that creates your mission deck for the game. After players have deployed, you flip over the first card in the mission deck, and this tells you which objectives are going to be active for that struggle. So in our struggle 1, we have Steal the Secret Plans, and that tells us that these objectives here in the cross are going to be our active objectives. So these are the ones that you're going to be battling over in this first struggle. As you control objectives, you're going to get to score points. They're going to be tracked on this mission struggle tracker. The black cubes are momentum tokens, so these basically shorten the track to victory. So gaining momentum can be really useful. You gain momentum by wounding characters. You can also gain momentum by different things happening on the score tracker that we'll talk about. But effectively, as momentum gets added to the track, your track gets shorter. It's tug of war. So as you score points, you'll pull it to your side. As you score points, you'll pull it to your side. Eventually, somebody will pull it all the way across their track as the momentum fills up and the track gets shorter. That person will win the first struggle card. As long as they have not won 2 struggles at the time, You'll flip over the next struggle card in order. So we would go to struggle 2. You turn off all of the objective tokens that were currently activated by the first struggle. You remove all the control tokens, you reset the scoreboard, and you continue play. So, important to note, all damage, all position of the miniatures, all special conditions, everything else remains. It's just the overall mission count that switches. If the same player can win that struggle, they will win the game. Otherwise, you'll go to struggle 3, and it will be sudden death. So the same thing would happen. You would reset the board and everything would go.
Are the position of these objective tokens all the same every time you set up?
Determined by the mission pack that you're using.
Oh, okay.
So in the core set, shifting priorities is the mission pack.
Got it.
So it's always that 9x9 grid. But when new mission packs come out, you're going to see different layouts of the objectives.
Cool.
So we're going to start by flipping on our tokens based on our Steal the Secret plans to get things started. In order to control an objective, you simply have to have the most characters within range 2 of it, which is 3 inches.
So characters, not units.
Characters, not units. So you'll notice right away that one of the benefits of having multiple character units is that they can pile on points and they can overtake like single characters because, again, it's more. Once you take control of a point, it's yours until your opponent takes it back. So you don't have to babysit, you can walk away.
Oh, okay.
But if you do walk away, obviously, it's a lot easier for them to take it back. Okay, so let's go ahead and kick things off. We're going to start with the Republic player. Go ahead and flip over the first card in your deck. It's Anakin Skywalker!
Wow, look at
Whoa, who saw
Now,
that coming?
to be fair, well, Anakin Skywalker is a very exciting character, and you probably do want to use him more often than not.
Fair.
The very first activation of the game, not ideal. So while you do have not a lot of choices when it comes to how your activation order goes based on the order deck, there is one global effect that every player has access to, and that's called reserve. So you can choose to exhaust or spend 1 force point and reserve an order card that you just flipped. When you reserve a card, it goes at the top of your order deck to show that it is in reserve. And after you reserve a card, you flip the next card in your stack, and that is the card that you activate. So you're going to activate the 501st clones. The cool thing about putting a card in reserve is that on any of your future turns, you can choose to use the card that's in reserve rather than flip the top card of your order deck. Cool. So that gives you basically access to Anakin whenever you want.
Right.
You cannot place more than 1 card in reserve. However, once your reserve is clear, you can use it again at the cost of 1 force. So once you play Anakin, you could choose to reserve another card if you would like to.
Right.
So the 501st clones are going to go. This is going to be fantastic because we have our activation and discussion. So when a unit activates, it gets to do 2 actions.
Okay.
It can do each action once, so you can't double any actions. Actions are move, and every character, when it moves, just uses the same advanced tool. You can attack, and those are the 2 that you're going to want to use the most often. There are 3 other actions that you can use, and they're kind of situational actions. You can focus, which gives you an additional attack die. You can take cover, which allows you to do a 1-inch push, so you can like slide 1 inch in any direction, and you gain a hunker token. Hunker tokens give you 1 extra defense die against ranged attacks, and they do stack. And then the last one you can do is a recover, and a recover allows you to remove 1 damage or special condition from yourself or another allied character within range 2.
Nice.
So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to have these clone troopers right here go for these 2 points. And we're going to start taking control of this game.
So they don't have to move together.
They don't have to
can
move together. You can literally have them this far apart,
Heck yeah.
and they will be perfectly fine. The only thing about units is that they share damage, they share special conditions, so anything that affects the unit affects both characters.
Deal.
And they have to share the same action. So you can't do 4 different actions, you get to do 2 actions, and even if one of those characters can't do the action, it still spends its action on that.
Fair.
When you move, you simply take the movement tool, you place it in base contact with the base, you bend the little knuckle if you want to, you pick up the miniature, and then as long as you place it touching the tool in any spot, it's a legal move.
Perfect.
Some of the things you can't do when you move is elevation in the game does have an impact. So to determine elevation bands, you simply take the range 2 tool, which is 3 inches. You place it down like that, and from the bottom of your base to the top of that tool is 1 elevation band. So you'll notice that you're on the same elevation as these crates, which means that they don't impede you from moving over them. So you can pop right over those crates. However, cleverly enough, all the terrain in the Shatterpoint cover box bit taller than 3 inches. So this is a different elevation. So your
Guessing
clone,
is what the ladders are for.
yep. So your clone trooper cannot make a normal advance and end on top of our little building here. He can choose to make a climb movement instead of an advanced movement, which lets him use the short tool, and then he can go up any amount of elevation he wants. Alternatively, you can use what are called ingress points. So in the core box, you're going to get a bunch of ladders, and the ladders are ingress points, but when you make your own table, you could do ropes, you could do elevators, you could do stairs, anything that you determine allows the up or down movement of elevation easily and quickly. When you use an ingress point, at the end of any move, if you end within range 1 of the ingress point, you can place your miniature within range 1 of the top of the ingress point. So you can just pop right up the ladder like that.
Okay, so if you can just go straight there if you slow down, or if you end there, you can pop up.
With the ladder, yep.
Right. With the ladder.
Yep. You have to use an ingress point in order for that to work. Otherwise, you'd have to climb.
I couldn't see the ladder over there.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Right.
it's behind you.
Right here.
Can you pull? Can you do that? Can you pull it up so no one can follow you?
Kind of like yours is hiding right there, right? Okay, so we've got that clone trooper over there. Go ahead and move that clone trooper towards
Sure.
that objective.
Nope, wrong side. You go straight
Perfect.
at those crates.
Yep. Okay, so our clone troopers aren't quite within control
I
range.
have a quick question.
Yes,
Did that count as 1 action or 2 actions?
1 action.
Okay.
So the characters in a unit share the action.
Got it.
So he used one of his actions for move. Both characters get to move.
Cool.
It's a good question. So we're not quite within range 2 of our objectives, so we can't take control of them. So let's talk about. This is a perfect opportunity. It's like it's scripted or something to talk about abilities.
You can't write this stuff.
I know you can't make this up. So every character has a number of abilities. There are 3 basic types of abilities. There are active abilities. These are abilities that are used on your turn or your activation, basically. So defensive maneuver from our clones here is an active ability. They can only use it when they're activating. You have reactive abilities. That's the circle with the couple of arrows. Reactive abilities happen during a triggering event. So the rule itself will tell you whatever happens that will allow you to use the ability. And then you have innate abilities. Innate abilities are always on and they don't cost any force. So active and reactive abilities always have a force cost. You can tell what the cost is for an ability based on the number of force icons after it. So for example, defensive maneuver, which we'll use here in a second, is 1. Coordinated fire is 0 because there's no force icons.
Gotcha.
And it's important to note that because as we start talking about wounds and stuff, you can actually have things cost more force. And we'll get to that in a moment. So we're going to use defensive maneuver. So we're going to spend a force.
Sure.
And defensive maneuver says that each character in the unit may dash, so they can make a short movement.
Oh, okay.
And if any of the characters dash, you're going to gain a hunker token. So use the dashes to get within range of those objective tokens. Grab your hunker token.
Stand back here. We'll go straight over those barrels, and it's range 2, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So we're definitely within now. We're perfect. So we'll gain a hunker token. And then we have 1 action left, but unfortunately we're not going to be in range of anything. So what we'll do is we'll just do a take cover action
Yep. And get another hunter.
and get another hunker token because we know that we're going to take some shots here.
Goes with the tokens.
And that would put them within range 1.
Yeah. So you could choose with. So when you make a take cover, you can push yourself range 1 in any
Gotcha.
direction.
Okay.
So you could move up if you wanted to. You could also choose to stay where you are.
I don't want to be close to that.
Yeah, you don't have to, but you can choose to.
Yep.
Okay, end of your activation, we now check for control because you've used both your actions. There's no other abilities that you want to use. So we know that you have the most characters within range of these, and we're just out on that one. So we'll place control tokens for these 2. Now, normally you would score 2 points on the struggle tracker, but because you took the very first turn of the game, you don't get to score it.
Fair.
These are the control are just blue and red holocron looking guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. So you can flip them back and forth. And you have your blue player and your red player. Really easy when you play the good guys versus the bad guys because you have blue cards and red cards. But as you start to mix and match your squads, obviously you have some options. Okay, so the clone troopers are done. So we're going to go over to our dark side player. You're going to flip over the top card in your stack. And it's Kalani. So we'll see that Kalani has this really fancy icon right here. This icon is a tactic ability. Tactic abilities are a subtype of innate abilities. They're always on, The thing with tactic abilities, though, is that they always trigger at the start of the unit's activation. So we have a little icon to remind you that, hey, you have a tactic, you should check it out. So Kalani's tactic is Roger, Roger. And at the start of his activation, allied battle droid supporting characters within range 4 get to make a dash. So we know that our B1s are battle droid supporting characters. So they both get to make a free dash action before Kalani takes his activation.
And that's based on the keywords at the bottom.
It's based on the keywords on the bottom. Yep. So
Right, because the B1s here have
battle droid,
battle droid.
and then on the back it tells you what type of unit they are and
they're
they're supporting.
supporting.
Unit.
Okay.
Very cool.
So one of the big things as you start to like construct your own squads and start to build your own stuff is determining how you want to utilize your keywords and which abilities to maximize your stuff.
All right.
So like you could have these battle droids potentially like pop over
yeah,
here so that they can take control of that point. And maybe have these battle droids start to go to contest that point.
I mean, they're pretty confident. I
know
think they can take out that guy up
They
there.
know what's happening,
It's just
yeah.
a single clone. How tough
100%.
can he be?
Okay, so that's the tactic. Now Kalani actually gets to activate. So we're gonna have Kalani get in a position to make a ranged attack against somebody. So let's go ahead and go after this clone over here.
Okay, so move
So
action.
you can move through other characters freely. You just can't end on them.
And we don't care about as long as this is fine.
Yep,
doing
that's
that.
totally fine.
Okay.
Yep, you can
that.
absolutely do that. All right, so we've made our move. Now we're gonna go ahead and check out our attack. So the way in which we determine our attacks is we look at our stance card. We have ranged attacks and melee attacks. If a character has a ranged attack, you'll see that there's a range icon with a number below the ranged icon. So in this case, we have a range 5 attack. So we're gonna use the range or the 5 measuring tool. We get 7 attack dice for this attack.
Okay, so within range 5.
So within
yeah.
range 5 because the tool touches. And that means that we're going to get 7 attack dice. But before we finish, we're going to see that Kalani has another innate ability called Target Concentrate All Firepower. This basically says that when a battle droid character makes an attack, if there's another battle droid character within range 4 of the target, they get an extra die. So these battle droids are going to help him fire at that
Okay.
clone trooper. So you'll get 8. And you will look at your range value for defense, which is the blue box. You see that you get 5.
Cool.
And then, because you have 2 hunker tokens,
I get 2 more.
you'll get 2 more.
Now, do those get expended? when I
No,
use
so
them?
they go. So hunker tokens get lost if you get engaged, so you get stuck in melee, or at the start of your next activation.
Roger.
Oh, okay, so it's almost a persistent extra defense. Got it. All right, and do we roll simultaneously?
Oh,
Do
You
we-
roll simultaneously.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, now I can.
I mean,
know how to,
I think
should roll.
technically you
Yeah,
roll
right.
first, then he rolls, but it doesn't really matter. Just roll well. That's the important bit.
I
Okay.
used up all my good dice rolls this morning.
So attack dice have several symbols on them. The first one is this crit. Crits are successes that can't be canceled by blocks, so they're literally the best one. Strikes are successes that can be canceled by blocks. You have expertise, and then you have fails. Expertise results, you add up your total number of expertise and you look at your expertise chart for the weapon that
I've
you're
got
using.
1, so it's
So
that
you-
another crit.
Go to the 1 and you gain a crit. So expertise, add that to your roll. So basically this becomes a free crit for you.
Okay.
Had you
Does
gotten
this,
2 or more, you would have gotten a crit plus 2 hits.
Question.
Yes.
Probably a very technical question. Does that expertise convert into a crit, or does it add an
It
extra
adds.
result? So if I
So-
had an ability that said I can reroll dice, I could still reroll this and not lose that bonus crit?
Potentially based on when those abilities would trigger
Okay.
within the timing charts.
Okay.
But yes, they don't change the dice. Now there are abilities that can change the dice, but those typically happen on the attack or the defender side. So
Okay.
over here we got blocks, which cancel strikes. We have expertise and we have fails, and fails again are not successes at all. So if we look at our expertise charts, we see that 1 to 2 gives us 1 extra block. So we got a total of 5 blocks. Pretty good. We're gonna cancel up to 5 strikes, but we only have 3. We can't cancel the crits, so we get 3 crits through from Kalani. When you have successes as the attacker, each success translates into 1 step on your combat tree.
Okay.
So you start from the leftmost box, and you'll see that some of these characters have multiple options, but the orange box is always where you start. So this first symbol here is the most common one, that's damage. So you'll see that the very first thing that you do for your first success is you put 2 damage, and damage in Shatterpoint goes into a pool. So you're going to go through all of your combat tree results,
Okay.
and then at the end of that, you'll take all the damage in the damage pool and you put it on
The
the
card?
character that has been attacked.
Okay, because these guys, they're sharing their life.
Correct.
Right, okay. So even if this one guy hid in the corner and was never touched, he would still fall over dead once this guy took enough damage.
Yep.
Right? Okay.
Yep, because they share their
Right.
share their damage pool. So the next thing we see is that we have 1 damage, and we have this symbol here, which is a shove. So shoves allow you to push the target character 1 inch away from yourself. So for
right.
example, you can boop, shove him back like that, and then you can choose to follow up 1. So you can just follow him up.
So a shove not only moves him, but the shover.
Gives you the opportunity to move as well.
And that's a
Okay.
May, right?
yeah, it's a May. You do
That
not
is,
have to do it.
Do you, if you do it, do you have to do both effects?
Nope.
You and me. Oh, so I can pick either end of that person moving?
Yep.
Cool.
And then, let's see, your last one here is going to be an active ability, which is a really cool one because it says you can use one of your active abilities for free when the attack is resolved, and you get 1 damage. So we
Okay.
have 4 damage total. The attack is done because we've done all 3 of our steps. So this damage transfers over to the 501st Clone Troopers. And then we get this free tactical network.
Choose another allied battle droid character within range 4. The chosen character may shove, then they gain a hunker token, then remove 1 condition from itself, or make a 5 dice attack.
So effectively,
this
you get
guy-
to dash.
Okay.
So that
Oh,
symbol
sorry,
is,
dash,
yep,
not
that
shove.
symbol is dash. So you can make a free dash. So you
Okay.
could dash like up to there.
We're coming.
And then you can either gain a hunker token and remove a status condition, or you can make a 5 dice attack.
I'm offended that that guy thought he could possibly control this point.
So we'll
they
make
will
a
make
5
a
dice
5 dice
attack.
attack.
Now, because this is an attack and Concentrate All Firepower works on all attacks, because Kalani is within range 4 of this clone trooper, it's going to give 1 extra dice to this attack. So you're going to get
Ooh.
6. You're going to roll the exact same amount of defense because it's ranged.
Nothing personal. Okay. So we have a strike, a crit, a fail, 2 expertise, and another strike.
Okay, and you're going to use the B1 battle droids chart now because they're the
Okay.
ones making the attack.
So expertise,
So
1
we
to
see-
2 expertise
is 1 strike.
gives us 1
So
extra
we'll
strike.
give you 1 strike.
So I got 2 expertise,
Yep.
which gives me 1 defense.
Okay, so we have 2 blocks total. So we take 2 of those out. We have 2 here.
So now we've got
So
Oh, wait,
you're using
these
this one.
guys.
So 1 damage.
1 damage.
And then 1 more damage and a reposition. And a reposition is basically a free advance that ignores being locked into melee.
Oh, dang.
Now,
So we had
here's a
2.
question to inform their reposition.
Yep.
Will being behind these boxes benefit them if they get shot at?
They will get cover, so they will
Okay,
get to roll
so
an additional die. Yep.
Probably smart to maybe scoot
Sure.
over here.
Yep. All right. And so you've taken 6 damage. Let's just assume for a second that you took 7.
Yeah.
If you'd taken 7 damage, you'd have damage equal to your stamina. At that point, your character would become wounded, so you would gain a wound token. Wounded characters cannot contest objectives, so you can't count for controlling or trying to stop him from controlling your objectives.
Right.
Additionally, they can't impose a movement penalty on things they're engaged with, so they can't slow other miniatures or characters down. And then the last thing is for each wound token or injury token a character or a unit has, its active and reactive abilities cost 1 additional force.
Oh, okay.
So your defensive maneuver would go up to 2, your coordinated fire would go up to 1. At the start of the unit's activation or its next activation, it flips its wound token to an injury token, removes all the damage on it from itself, and 1 special condition if it has any conditions. At the end of a unit's activation, if it has injury tokens equal to or greater than its durability, it's removed from the table.
At the end.
At the end of its
Oh,
activation.
cool. All right.
So they always get 1 last hurrah.
Nice.
Awesome. So nobody's ever like wiped out the second they get
Correct.
dumped on by somebody.
Nice.
Yep.
That's
good.
great. So
Yeah, that's really
there's
good.
never a turn where you're like, here's my cool guy, he's rushing out, and then, oh, I did all the damage, you're done, that won't happen. You'll be done after
And
you still
so-
get to do something.
Actually get to use your minis.
Kalani will.
Yes.
I
Kalani,
spent 10 hours painting this, and now he's gone. No, at least you still get to use him.
Kalani and the B1s will take control of this. You will take control of this one as well because you have the most friendly characters within range 2 of it. So you would score 2, and because it's not the first anymore, it's 2. Oh, the other important thing when you wound an enemy character is you would gain a momentum. So that's one of the ways that you can gain a momentum. The other ways you can gain a momentum are if you score, and at the end of scoring, the tracker is on 0, both players gain a momentum.
Okay.
Because time is running out. And the last way is if you score, but you don't pull the token over to your side of the track, you gain a momentum.
Oh, all right.
So your side is getting more desperate, more eager to have things
So
go.
it sounds like is this called a round?
Struggle.
A struggle. As the struggle happens, things keep getting faster and faster and
Yes.
faster and faster.
You're going to see the clock. The clock's going to start to tick down, and it's going to become more and more likely that one player is going to come out to that victory as things go.
Awesome.
Nice.
All right, so the last thing we want to do is let's show off some melee attacks. So go ahead and activate Anakin Skywalker and have him get some revenge.
Let's do it. I love that. I want to
All right.
swing some lightsabers.
They're innocent.
He's going over here. I'm kidding.
Circumstantial.
So he's gonna move on up to the east side over there.
Okay, and now we need to get within range 2 to be able to make a melee attack. So we're not quite there, but
Perfect.
Anakin Skywalker has Force Jump.
Let's do that.
It costs 1 force. It's an active ability, and it lets him use the short movement tool to make a jump.
Cool.
Jumps. The special thing with jumps are that they ignore elevation, so you can go to any amount of elevation when you jump.
Nice. I'm gonna head on over
Ta!
this way.
All right. So we've got the B1s into melee, so we can go ahead and make a lightsaber attack on them.
Yeah, I want to mark them.
Now remember, you have
Oh, a branch. Yeah.
you have 2 sides to your stance card when you're a primary unit.
What?
So you could use Form 5 Shen, where he's a bit more defensive and he's a lot more tactical because he's got all these pushes right up front.
Mm-hmm.
He can also do a lot of heals if you need it. Or you can flip over to his I'm here to ruin you side.
Yeah.
And you'll see that immediately he does 7 damage right on his first 3 results, which is an insane amount. His expertises are all crits, and he rolls 8 dice. But he becomes a little
chosen one
he
or
becomes a
something?
little less he becomes a little less defensive-y. You can flip your stance card once during your activation at any time.
Oh, okay.
So you
Yeah,
started here. You
wanna
can
mark
choose
people.
to flip. All right,
Yeah,
we're gonna flip. Sounds great.
I hate B1s. Let's
So
do
we're
it.
gonna get 8
Oh
dice.
man, they're cute.
All right, so make sure that's 8, and then our B1s get a maximum of 3 defense dice.
Oh yeah, they're gone. Oh boy. Okay.
Well.
So that's 6 with 2 crits.
2 crits, yep, because
right.
your 2 to 3 is 2
Oh, no.
crits. You're all good.
It never happened.
Look, it's just gone.
Didn't
We
do
just
it.
removed it.
God, they're
All
never
right,
gonna invite
and then
us
we
back.
got one expertise, which is going to turn into nothing.
No.
All right, so you get nothing on
So you
that.
block 1, right?
So he blocks 1. So you're going to run your entire chart.
All right, let's do it.
So we got
God.
3 damage, 7 damage, or 5 damage, 7 damage. Strain, which is a special condition that says the next time the character or the unit moves or attacks, it takes 3 damage. So we're at 7 total, and then you get a choice. You can either jump for 1, or you can pin him for 1. And pin is a special condition that says the next time a character in the unit would move, it doesn't move, it just removes pin.
Sure.
And then we're going to go to 8 damage and a shove, 9 damage. I'm going to do that right. 2, 5, 7, 8, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sorry, 10.
No, it's okay.
Yeah. It's been a long day.
Yeah, I'm
3,
sure.
5,
Believe
7,
anything you say.
8, 9, 10.
Yep, you're
Perfect. So
good.
10. And this one's a reposition, and a reposition, again, is just a full advance. So you can jump, and you can reposition, and you can shove him if you want.
So you can just get the
Yeah.
heck out. You can go and then leave. All right.
10 damage is obviously going to do a wound, because you only have 9. So we gain a thing.
Do they
Anakin-
take the 10th, or do they stop at 9?
No, they stop at 9.
Okay.
So excess damage just doesn't do anything.
Okay.
You can suffer excess damage, but it doesn't affect anything because you'll clear it all when you get wounded.
So I don't like this either, so I'm just gonna move into range of this and range of him, and we do. So
He's
let
just
me-
showing off his little miniature that he made for Adepticon.
I know, right?
And you're
That's
gonna go.
So we're going to do the shove first, right? Because it happens first.
So you can choose to do the jump or
the
the
jump
pin.
first. Yep.
Yep.
So the jump is anywhere within his.
It's short.
It's a short one.
and it
Okay,
can
thank
go any elevation, so you can
That's
ignore the
right.
elevation. So you can
we're
jump
just
to there.
gonna jump over here.
Yeah, and then you could pop up here if
Yeah,
you
let's do
wanted
that.
to.
Boop. Land within. If that's within 2. Can I
Well,
check?
so this is interesting
So
about
is it also
elevation,
elevation?
right? So the characters that count for control first are the characters on the same elevation as the token.
Okay, cool. So we'll land down here,
Yep.
and then we get a.
And then you get a shove. So you could shove the B1s like
Yeah,
that way.
We'll do that.
And then you could follow up if you wanted to.
We'll stay there. I like where I am. I
and
like
then
those stairs.
the last thing you would get to do is do a reposition, which would be a full move if you wanted to.
I don't want to get closer to Asajj is the problem. She scares the heck out of me. let's actually we'll move back just because we can.
Yeah.
We're gonna move back over here.
Just bounce back and forth. Just
Keep
show
within.
them what you're working with all these flips, these
Exactly.
flippy flops.
Exactly.
They're just like, are you done?
Yeah, are you done? All right, and so that's the full chart for
Did the
Anakin.
whole track.
Wow, you got through the whole thing. Is it common to get through the whole chart?
Not usually. I mean,
Okay.
you have to have an opponent that rolls really badly for that to actually happen. Like just abysmal.
I only spiked a lot. Let's be fair.
With Anakin versus B1s, it happens quite a bit.
I'm
but
sure.
normally,
I love the fact that you smoked them.
Yeah.
But I get to still play with them for a little bit longer.
Oh,
Yeah,
quite
right,
a bit
right,
longer.
exactly.
Quite a bit
Just
longer.
there.
So because we tie here,
So because you tie there, you do not take control of it. You would
Okay.
need one
Oh,
extra.
okay.
So,
gotcha. So he still
Mine doesn't go
so
away.
you keep this.
Correct.
Nope.
Got
Okay.
it.
It's-
Okay.
So you would keep this. Yeah. If you had, let's say, a Rex over here, or if you'd shoved him off the point,
Right.
then you would have gotten it. But because you're tied, he's going to maintain control of it. So you're only going to score 1, which is going to give you that extra momentum.
Perfect.
So you gained 1 for wounding the battle droids, 1 more for not pulling it across your track.
And then I get this is the fun begins, right?
You would,
Okay.
however, this is the fun begins as an identity. It only triggers off of secondary and primary characters.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So,
not supporting.
because you only murdered B1s and Anakin doesn't really value them as like appropriate
The fun
trophies.
has not
yeah,
yet
right.
begun.
That's not fun enough.
He's not there. But yes, if you'd done the same thing at Kalani, you would have triggered your identity, and then you would have gotten to gain a victory point. And if you had wounded a primary character, you would have gotten everyone on the Galactic Republic side would have gotten a free recover.
Okay.
I would have been like,
okay.
yeah, Anakin, we saw
Yeah,
that.
we love it. We love it. Okay, so let's flip over that last card right there. And this is the Shatterpoint card. So we talked a little bit about this, but real quick before we end the demo, the Shatterpoint card is the super cool card in your deck that allows you to activate any unit you want, including units that have already activated before. So if their card is already in your discard pile, you can activate them again, or units that you haven't activated yet. So this is the card that gives you the penultimate control over what you're going to utilize. You cannot reserve the Shatterpoint card, but you can spend 1 force to shuffle it back into your deck after you draw the top card. So you can't hold on to the Shatterpoint card, but you can save it for later by utilizing that mechanic to get it back in. And that is all of the basic, like, core fundamentals of Shatterpoint. You'd continue back and forth again until somebody won the struggle. You'd flip over the next struggle, and you'd continue going from there.
I have. First of all, I am already in love with it. But my
Done.
questions.
No, we're out. You're done. I don't have to answer anything.
I want to know what's up with this guy.
So this is called the shove tool. So remember we talked about, you see the little shove icon?
Uh-huh.
So it's really just a play raid for shoving underneath things. It
Oh,
makes it a little easier because it's angled.
you're shoving something under a roof or
so,
whatever.
So if you
gotcha.
need it, you can use it.
Okay.
It's the same
So
measurement.
this is just a 1 inch.
Yeah, it's the same
okay,
measurement as the
okay.
1 inch. But because there are a lot of gantries and some different elevations and stuff, we wanted to give players a little bit of like an angled
Instead
tool
of
that
sticking
made it
your
easier.
hand in there.
Yeah, instead of like, just destroying everything. That's all.
Let's see. I'm assuming this is an era indicator.
Correct.
The Republic icon on Maul.
So when you build a squad, you always have to choose a primary character. The primary character tells you how many points you get for your secondary and supporting, so you can spend up to 8 points with Maul.
Okay.
And this icon is the era icon. So in the squad itself, all characters have to belong to the same era
Okay.
as the primary character. Now that is not true in the Strike Force. So you can have different era squads as part of your Strike Force. So
Okay.
for example, you could take a Darth Vader, Stormtroopers, and whatever squad with your Maul squad and put them together, and that would be perfectly legal.
Okay.
The only other restriction when you're building your Strike Force or your Strike Team, that's the word,
So
not
this,
force.
so this is my strike
Strike team.
and then these are my
These are your squads.
squads. Okay.
So a strike team is 2 squads.
Okay, these guys have to match era. These guys have to match
Yep.
era, but they don't have to
Yep.
match era. Okay.
And the only other rule that really comes down to it when it comes to building your strike team is you cannot include a character of the same name twice.
Right.
So, for example, like you can't have Ahsoka Tano, Jedha, and Moore, and Padawan Ahsoka Tano over in this squad.
You can't have Anakin and Vader.
You can't have Anakin and Vader.
Yeah.
And that also applies to your non-name supporting units. So
Okay.
this is their unique name as well.
Gotcha.
So you
Okay.
can't take multiple. You can't have 2 501st Clone Trooper units and like 1 in each squad, right?
Roger that.
So everything in the game is unique, which promotes
yeah.
greater diversity and kind of synergy.
No more like
looking at different things.
unit spamming, which
Yep.
can be fun, but also can get annoying and
Not
certain
27 Death
metas.
Troopers.
Yeah.
Because and that goes back to the game being very character focused. And even though the 501st Clone Troopers don't technically have names, we assume that they're characters that have been given names throughout the episode, so that you'll feel more when they fall in battle.
Yeah. It makes me want to name them when they
Exactly.
do fun stuff.
I always name them after like my friends, so they feel worse about
Oh, there you go,
killing
about
them.
killing. Yeah,
like
you
oh,
just
this
murdered
guy,
yourself.
That's Taylor and Will. No, you still want to.
You still want to get them? That's just rude of
It's
you.
funny because I was gonna scream out like, "This is fives. You're gonna kill fives."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly. Okay. Any other questions?
Is it okay if we? Are there any tokens that we haven't seen that we should have seen, or that we? Is it?
No, we covered them all because you've got strain, disarm,
Is there a focus
pin.
token, or is that just a thing that kicks in?
focus. So because focus is the next attack,
Okay.
it doesn't carry over, so there's no token to mark.
Cool.
Because if you choose to take a focus action and then you don't make an attack, that's on you.
Right.
Like it's just gone.
So there's
Which is fine.
nothing that
It's kind of
would
like a
like.
pass.
There's nothing like, oh, Maul can say they get focused.
Nope.
Okay.
Well, there are abilities. So, example, if you look at some of the Mandalorians, like Mandalorians are stronger together. Oftentimes, characters will have abilities that might give them a free focus,
Okay.
or give the activating unit a free
oh,
focus.
nice.
But there's nothing that's going to give a non-active character a focus.
Got it.
basically,
Okay.
Right? It's always going to go on the active unit.
Right. No one's ever going to sit on it. It's just going to happen
Correct.
when somebody's going.
Yep. Because and that's why focus doesn't need a token because it's a must be used during your activation.
Right. So when these guys move together and they just get a free focus action if they're within 2, right? That's
Of another,
great. Of another
I think it's
Mandalorian. Another
Here it is.
Mandalorian.
Yeah, so it has to be somebody not in their unit because it's another allied Mandalorian character. But yes, so if they move, if any one of them moves, like this guy moves here, and this guy's way over here, if he ends his movement within Bo, they're both going to get the focus action because they're a unit, it affects the unit.
Wonderful. Fantastic. Fantastic.
I'm going to ask a. I know it's a bad question,
Okay.
but I think the people watching will be mad at me if I don't ask it.
Ask
Even though we all know the answer.
Oh, let's
is,
go. Let's go.
Like future releases, which I don't like asking about because I know you don't like talking about it because I know how this works. But Darth Vader, Stormtroopers, something. I think is that something we should expect eventually?
I would say so. I mean,
Alright.
the game has inbuilt eras.
Right.
We've referenced many times different characters from different eras. So like the goal ultimately is to get to explore in those various places. Galactic Civil War and others.
I will. I'll put it out here if you want me to buy 50 copies of a single thing. If you put Chopper.
Oh,
in the
okay.
game,
That's it. 50 of them.
yeah.
This
Okay.
is a contract.
We got it. We got it on
Contract.
video.
It's on video.
I'm looking
right.
forward to you having 50 choppers just running out.
Who's editing this
well-
video?
We're not editing it because we're going to upload it as soon as we're
Oh,
done. As long as
immediately uploaded.
the
Perfect.
Wi-Fi's done, and I'll have to talk to my wife about 50 choppers.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, that's
Amazing.
fantastic. I think maybe do we want to pan over all the cards real quick, just so everybody sees everything, and then.
Dude, thank you so
Oh
much.
yeah,
for the
absolutely. No problem. Glad you guys made it.
I am really excited about this.
Perfect. Well, 50 choppers in. I mean, that's pretty deep. So it's pretty deep.
You might have to make it the unique exception, so I can run 50 choppers in one strike force or whatever.
I'll let you house rule that.
Okay.
It'd be like
that's fine.
it'd be like IG-88 in the old days. Chopper
Yeah.
I'm
Alpha,
gonna say
Chopper
the same
Beta.
thing I always say. No one's gonna get in the way of consenting adults having fun. So,
Do you have a favorite character from the
From
the
this
core
set?
wave? So I guess including Obi-Wan and Dooku and stuff.
if I include Obi-Wan and Dooku, oh, that's tough. I think my favorite character is probably Dooku because I had a lot of fun making him as mean as possible.
Ooh. Can you give us any examples of what his abilities are, or is that still hush hush?
Chopping hands off.
So
Getting his own hands chopped off.
so he really
That's the
likes
final.
to.
That's the end of the row.
We really leaned into the whole like he goads you into making bad decisions and then punishes you for them.
Ooh.
So the Twice the Pride squad pack name is not just a name. It's a thing we leaned into with him. And I enjoy playing counter magic, so
Yeah, fair.
it's just fun. It's fun to be like, did you attack me? Why don't you do it again, but more poorly this time, so I can hit you back with a lot more damage?
So I have to commemorate the entire team on how hard you nerded out with the names.
Oh yeah, it was super fun to just go through and like read all the quotes and get all that
Absolutely.
flavor in there. So
Okay, let's watch this movie one more time.
Yeah, just once more. Just once more. It's
It,
fine.
it might. I don't. Maybe I'm giving away how weird of a Star Wars fan I am, but one of the things I'm most excited about is the terrain that features the Lothcat, the Convor, and the Gongtroid.
That was our creative director Dallas's Kemp like brainchild. He was like, I want to start sneaking in little Easter egg creatures.
I'm like, oh my gosh!
so
it's-
every terrain set has to have a little creature in it. And
well,
so there you go.
that's how you're going to get me
Yeah.
to keep buying all
There
the
you go.
trains.
All right, perfect. 50 choppers and 50 Lothcats.
There's 50
Wow.
terrain sets sold right there.
Tukas. It's actually a Tuka. It's not from Loth. It's an important
Yeah.
distinction,
Oh.
I guess. Well,
Tuka
and-
Lothcat
cat.
is a subspecies of a Tuca cat.
it is, yeah, yeah. But because I
Wow.
can't guarantee that you're playing on Lothal, I have to
Right.
assume it's a Tuka.
Right.
Until you tell me that your table is Lothal, and then I'll be like, it's a Lothcat.
Well, then we. All right. Well,
Otherwise, LFL will come after me, and I don't want that.
Whoa.
I
I
don't
am
want
very
that 'cause I
aware
won't
of
be here
Simone's
again.
not here. Don't worry.
of licensing and everything about that. It's.
Gotta keep it on the level, you know.
Yep. Well, I am. Oop,
This is the terrain that comes in the box.
You get
Correct?
everything. So everything we played with comes in the core set, with the exception of there's an extra tower that you get. So
Do
we actually
the-
played with one thing last.
Oh,
Are these from the core set, or are these
Yep.
just? Oh, okay,
Yep.
wonderful.
The little crates, you get a bunch of
Oh.
little crates too.
Here's my last question, because you mentioned that they would benefit from cover. How does cover work?
You just add an additional defense die.
Okay.
And
Is it
it's
just-
basically you draw imaginary lines from the base of the attacker to the base of the defender. If any of those lines cross line of sight, blocking things, which is established based on the types of things that are there. Basically, you have to be able to see through it. So like you can't see this way,
Right.
but you would get cover this way because you're crossing this terrain feature, even though you can see through it.
Okay.
And you just gain an additional defense die. So it's
Okay.
very simple, very quick.
So it's any point on the base to any point on the base.
Would you be able to, if someone is standing right below this guy, shoot up
Yep,
at him through the little holes?
Because if you determine that this is visible,
Okay.
which you really want to, because I
mean,
it's
like
here.
I said.
So yes, you could do that, and that's just part of the making the game quick and easy and abstract.
Right.
To
Star
still
Wars.
function the way that you want.
Yeah.
It's also why we made these graded, because we knew that they would be visible. So we were like, let's just give people the ability to see through them.
Yeah, instead of a giant negative space.
And I guess, if I recall, I don't remember if it was you or Dallas or somebody on one of the streams. It was probably you who was painting these on stream one time. I think you pointed out how you did design the terrain with legions in mind as
it
well.
absolutely works for Legion scale stuff as well. So everything's been scaled so it's appropriate for both systems.
That's really cool.
Well, that brings me to a question. Batu Black Spire terrain when?
I'll put it on the list.
All right, great.
I've given a really long list, but I'll put it on the list for sure.
All right, guys,
That'd be
we
very
have to
cool.
wrap up. I'm so sorry.
No, thank you.
Dude,
All
thank
right.
you again for
Yeah,
coming.
absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for taking the time. We really appreciate it.